If you don't know what this is, where on earth have you been? This is the Honda Fireblade. It's 30 years old this year, almost as old as I am. I'm here today at a pretty special place to ride this bike, and one a tiny bit younger than me too. Well, here it is, the 2022 30th anniversary edition of the Honda Fireblade. I've come along to a pretty special place, to my old team, Honda Racing UK, to have a look at this, the 92 blade, some special other blades, and to go for a ride with one of my old mates. I'm Shakey Byrne, and you're watching the Burnout on the Late Brake Show, proudly supported by EBC Brakes.
Hey up, Shakey, come on mate, stop yapping. Let's have a bit of crack about some of these Fireblades.
Well, put the kettle on then, I'll be there.
Will do.
Coffee's not bad, mate, done a good job of that.
Yeah, it's alright, and it was free as well.
A few of them special Fireblades that we spoke about earlier on, or I spoke about in the intro, just looking over there at a 2007 bike. I remember having to compete against that thing in BSB. That was the year, wasn't it, when Honda were all in with that thing, bought a full factory bike over. You done pretty well around a TT on one of them, didn't you?
Oh, I loved it. You know, I went testing with them. I was in the team doing the British SuperStock Championship, so I was on the stock version with the boys, and they were dominating the championship. But I loved every minute of it. I won at the Northwest on it. I did a double at TT6, a double at TT7, and in my house it was one in the hallway. So every day of my life I have to walk past it. And it was the first bike to do the first 130 miles an hour lap at the TT. First bike to do 130 miles an hour at the Ulster Grand Prix. So it was, I rode it in Macau, finished second in Macau to Steve Plater, and lots of smiles and emotions come out and look at that bike, and I loved every minute of riding it.
I'll tell you what, there's a few, well, I don't know about smiles, but there's a few emotions come out when I look at this thing, because this was the bike, obviously, the 2013 bike that Alex beat me to the championship on in 2013, and sort of stood here like leaning up against it now, thinking, flipping now, I saw the front of it, I saw the back of it. Right at the last knock-ins, he beat me to a championship on it. So pains me to stand here looking at this, to be fair. But
I'm surprised you've not kicked it over yet, Shane.
I might do. Do you think I'll get told off?
We'll be all right. The door's there. We can always leg it quick.
What about that thing? Isn't that your 100th start bike? That's the actual one, isn't it?
It's the actual bike I did my 100 start on a few weeks ago at the TT, and yeah, it's a new 2022 model, complete new generation. Fly-by-wire, a lot of new technology in this bike that I took, I've needed to learn. The auto blippers and engine braking systems and stuff like that. It's a really complicated thing, but again, dead reliable. It's got the #1 plate on it. It's got all my starts on it. We've gone gold, we've gone bling. We had the gold leathers on. I was feeling a little bit of pressure from a 100 start, but we bought we bought the bike home. It never missed a beat. Every practice session we did, every race we did, with the Stocker, the 2 Superbike races, it came back in, never missed a beat, and I finished 5th and 9th on it, so I think they were honest results.
I was just about to say then, I can't not ask, 2023, are you going back?
I want to, yeah, I want to. It's straight away when we got back, we had meetings in here with Chris. I'm like, what could we're just changing this, and maybe move the tank, and I'm just thinking how we can make it better. And even if that's not just for me, it's for the future Honda riders. They need some steering. Glenn is, he's got this much talent, he's got this much experience, and when that all lines up, Glenn will be a real strong TT package. But if I can help him in the future, then I've done my job. But for me, I finished 5th and I've crossed the line, and I can accept being 5th because I did my best, and that's it. Some people have got to win, but for me, it was just taking part, and being part of the whole thing was mega. And I don't want it to finish. I want to carry on forever.
Well, I did promise you some pretty behind the scenes views in this video, and here we are. This is actually the BSB room. So Honda Racing have 2 rooms. They have the road room and the short circuit room, the BSB room and stuff. So my old bikes were built in here, and we've brought these Fireblades in just to have a little bit of a look around. The irony of it is, the Fireblade, when it first came out in '92, was a 900cc. So it couldn't even be raced because it was 750cc 4-cylinder bikes then compared to 1000cc twins, wasn't it? So you couldn't even race one of these if you wanted to, unless it was a club race or something.
Well, mate, you just educated me there, so yeah, I didn't know
listen,
that. But,
don't worry, I've got all the facts.
I'm all right with that. All I know is it's the very first blade that come out, 900, like you say, 900cc. It looked iconic, it looked amazing when it came out, and there were tons of them on the road, weren't you? You look at it, it looks ancient now, doesn't it? You know, carburetors, non-fuel injected, 900cc, but it's 16-inch front wheel. But
I remember seeing one in the Honda dealership next to the bike shop that I used to work at when I first left school. And I remember them being 9,995, thinking, oh my God, who on earth is ever going to pay 10 grand for a motorbike? Now you can't even buy like a flipping scooter for 10 grand, can you? Like the prices have gone bizarre.
I couldn't have even spelt 9,999 quid at the time. Never mind earned it to buy one.
That would have been a few bricks you'd have to lay.
I was still a brickie at the time. Yeah.
Was you?
Yeah, 1990, yeah. Everybody thinks I would never worked, but I did actually. I went to college and learned to be a brickie. So I won the silver trowel one year actually.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, well, it's best brickie in class. So.
Is it?
Yeah, I've got a few bike trophies, but I've got a brick lane trophy.
I'd be prouder of that than buying one. The Fireblade, what an iconic bike, you know. Honda have been really, really kind. They've given us this this 92 heritage bike. Obviously, that's the 30th anniversary bike right in front of me with John on board. We're going to take a little ride up out of Louth, out the industrial estate, up to Cadwell Park and back. Just have a little reminisce on the 92 bike, and then I think we're going to swap and I'll have a go on that. So John will see what 30 years worth of development feels like when you step back in time, and I'll feel it the other way around when you go forward. So I had to start it up with choke. Put a choke on earlier on, and said to John, oh, have you got your choke on the 22 bike? Obviously he didn't need it. 22 bikes far more technically advanced than this one. When these came out in 1992, it was an absolute game changer, and it was a bit bizarre as well, because whilst it's won a load of superbike races and superbike world championships and stuff, when it first came out, as I said earlier on in the video, it was designed as a 900cc bike, so it couldn't even be raced, because back in the day, the rules for superbikes were that the 750cc inline 4-cylinder bikes rode against the 1000cc V twins. Now, the Fireblade, obviously being a 4-cylinder bike and 900cc, didn't fit that bill, so you couldn't race it. But you know, a few years later, towards the end of the 90s, I think it was, the rules changed, and then all of a sudden they started racing 1000cc 4-cylinder bikes as well. I think the brakes are going to feel slightly sharper on the new bike compared to this old one. Look at that, TT Legend, 100 starts there at the Isle of Man TT right in front of me. So cool. John and I get on really, really well. We've known each other for probably 20 odd years, raced together in superbikes. Actually, John was sort of semi my teammate once upon a time, because he actually rode my Monster Mob Ducati at the Isle of Man TT. I remember Birdie saying to me, come ride for me in BSB, which I did, and then him telling me, oh yeah, by the way, John's going to ride your bike at the TT, and I was like, what? I want my superbike going around the TT, but John loved it. It was a great bike, absolutely fantastic bike, and he done really, really well on it. It was quite cool to see my bike being ridden by such a legend around a TT. Obviously, this is really nice. What a lovely experience. And the good thing about this video is I actually know where I'm going, so I shouldn't get lost. I'm not 100% convinced that camera on the back of John's bike hasn't moved a little bit, which will be a bit of a shame. Johnny's all made up because he's got himself a new 360-degree camera, which is what you can hopefully see if I just sort of...
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
What about the 22 bike?
22. Where do you start with this? I mean, like say,
Look at the
fast forward
differences. Yeah.
30 years, and we've got like twice the horsepower. The DNA's the same, isn't it? It's still got the Honda badge. It's branded as a Honda. It's still got the iconic looks, and you know, I've been part of the development this year with it, with the 2022 bike. Yeah, say 200 horsepower. And I was just saying to you before, I switch it on. I've got one that I use for track days. This dashboard lights up, and I should know what it all does. There's that many buttons, there's that much stuff, there's that much traction control, anti-wheelie, engine braking systems, the suspension's electronic, you can adjust it while you're going. It's off the charts with technology, and it's an unbelievable thing to ride. And it's
flipping. Do you not think though it's like bonkers now, like how good these things have got? Because you think back in the day, 113 horsepower or whatever, most decent road riders could manage that, couldn't they? But you put your average guy out on one of these now, they're so fast. Like you
Really
just
fast,
can't compute what's going on, let alone work the dashboard. Do you know what I mean?
But it's a nice thing to have. I mean, I always think when you talk about motorbikes that there's a motorbike out there for everybody. And if you want a Fireblade, you want the iconic Fireblade, you want to talk about it in the pub with your mates and you've got 200 horsepower, why not have it?
Well, how cool is this? Out on the roads with 6 times BSB champion, Shakey Byrne. Or Shane, as you lads call him. Never heard of Shane. Shakey to me, or Snoop Dogg. It looks rather menacing in the back of, in these mirrors. Whenever I race him, I don't think I was ever in front of him, so it feels pretty good, to be fair. 2022, 30th anniversary Fireblade. Just looking down at the yokes, serial number 11, so it's the 11th one they've ever made. Bike I've been racing in this year's SuperStock Championship and TT, SuperStock and Superbike, so feels really cool, to be fair. Like I say, it's just like going out for a ride with your mates, which I haven't done for a long time. Gonna head out to the A roads to Cadwell Park, so get a bit of a feel for these bikes. Quick shifter into second gear, so yeah, so sweet, so smooth. Use your auto flip on the way down, so that's 5th, 4th, not have to use the clutch on it or anything, so brakes are unbelievable, all ABS. Now we're on a proper biker road. Just asking to go faster, this thing. Just sat here, 4,000 RPM. All it wants to do is go. All I want to do is go as well as a mobile racer. It's dealing with all the bumps really well. Feels quite rigid, quite stiff, but it is a race. It's a race, you know. It's come off a race pedigree bike, so it's gonna feel pretty rigid, but steers nice. Just coming up to one of the most iconic, famous tracks in Britain, Cadwell Park. What an amazing track, unbelievable. Love racing this place. Got the Cadwell mounted in it, big jump in it. Just be epic now, just to be able to turn onto the track and get a few laps in on this. Never get bored of a track. And I've raced since 1990. What's that? 32nd season. Jesus, where's that gone? Yeah, this 30th anniversary one, it's got slightly shorter gearing than when they first come out, this model in 2020. I think the airbox is slightly different, I think the bell mouths are slightly different, so it has a little bit more mid-range. You can actually feel it. Actually, I've got a 2020 model I do a lot of instructing on, and yeah, you can definitely feel it a bit more grunt. I had to do it, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry viewers, just got too giddy. When you got 200 horsepower on your right wrist, I just get too excited. But yeah, no, that was awesome, that, yeah. All the anti-wheelie kicked in there, just held the front wheel up just nicely with full 100% throttle on. Just held the front wheel up, I don't know, 18 inch off the ground, so. Lovely roads there, he's up, down, flowing. Bit bumpy though, but it's dealing with it. The electric suspension's dealing with it. It's actually got a grip angle sensor here, so that as you lean over, it's it's measuring the amount of lean angle you've got, which I don't really know what it's going to do for you, but when you go and tell your mates in the pub but you leaned it over to 50 degrees, then you're going to be a god, aren't you? So I grew up riding bikes on the road around where I live near the Lake District, and we'd be out flat out everywhere, you know, full gas, racing here, racing there. And somebody said to me, Dad, you know, get this kid off the road, he's going to kill himself. And it's the best decision my dad ever made, really. Just got me by my collar, said, you know, you think you're good enough, let's go and do some racing. And we did. But you know, I don't know, like I say, I rarely get out on a road bike, but great roads, fantastic bike, you know, a good mate behind me. It's just, that's what riding's all about.
Well, the Fireblade's getting a bit more special now, mate. This is your Superstock bike. You rode this in British Superstock and at the Northwestern TT, haven't you? This is your bike.
Yeah, a bit of testing before we went to the first 2 BSB rounds. You've got to do a little bit of riding before you get a mountain course licence, so you can't just rock up at the TT without doing nothing. And we took it to the Northwest. And
does that mean my parade lap in 2003 wouldn't count if I came back?
Might count, yeah, might count. I heard reports that I heard a few reports you were bouncing off a few curbs and one thing or others.
That was aggro that day.
Yeah, that was your TT career.
Yeah, that was me done and dusted. I was happy with that. I jumped Balluff, is it Balluff Bridge or whatever it's called?
Balluff Bridge, yeah.
Jumped Balluff Bridge and went down, what's the big hill at the start?
Bray Hill.
Bray Hill, done that.
Did you enjoy it though?
Loved it.
There you go.
But I remember riding down there, right, at kind of probably 130 odd mile an hour after doing a big wheel, brand spanking new Ducati I was on.
I think he's splicing it up a little bit. I reckon he was doing about 100.
Honestly, I was cracking on a bit, and I remember thinking that you lunatics are like pinned in 5th or 6th or whatever it is you go down through there, and I thought to myself, do you know what, if this went wrong now, it would be game over. How on earth you go down there like you
Well, going down Braille this year, off the start, I was number 1 in my first race under start, and then unbelievably, frighteningly, the yellow flags are out, and all the people were waving. There was a football going down the road.
I saw the clip of
I had
that.
to pass a football. And Superbikes, once you're committed in 6th gear going down Bray Hill, it sort of, the road just comes along and then just drops away. And they're going that fast, like projectile missiles, and once you've picked your line, that's the line it's going on. There's no way I could have avoided it. And I was like, what am I going to see over this brow? And I thought it was a helmet, and it was actually a football. So for a split second, I jumped out of my skin and just poof, past it. But yeah, no, this is my Superstock bike. Yeah, I rode it in Northwest 200.
Did your spoilers help you?
You know what? Joking apart, it's a dead simple little 10mm bit of bent aluminium with some duct tape on it, so we're full factory there with that. But it did help, you know. Seriously, people, they laugh at you and you just think, oh, you know, and you sat on it for an hour, you know, nearly 2 hours. What's the problem? And once in a, but you imagine go down the motorway 100 mile an hour in your car. Well, don't go down at 70 mile an hour in your car and stick your head out of the sunroof, and then put 150 mile an hour on top. And that's what it feels like. You know, you need the wind off your shoulders. So it's little things like that. It's not rocket science with a TT bike. It's just getting comfortable on the bike. And you know, we made some spaces that opened up the fairing a little bit. We made these spaces the side to try and keep the wind off your knees, because you get the wind on your knees and it sort of opens your legs as well. So it's great.
Well, quite a lot of TT, you're going really, really fast, aren't you? It's not like, you know, the average speed's 130 miles an hour. That says a lot for the top speed, doesn't it?
Well, Hickey went through the speed trap at 199. I went through the speed trap at 194 or something. So, and this is down the Sulby Straight where you think, I'm going to get a rest here. And it's probably the hardest bit because it's that bumpy now. So you're riding along, it's pinging you out of the screen, pinging your backside off, and you're just like, it was tough. It was a tough year, it was hard, but yeah, we have a different shock absorbing, we have a different fork internal kit, we have different brake linings, different pad material, the discs are slightly different, exhaust is different. We had there's no noise restriction at TT, so we had a shorter exhaust, which sounded a lot better, but it's also, instead of having a great big long one, it's a bit more vulnerable on the road, so you want it a bit shorter. It's not as much leverage because, like I say, it's got a big 24-litre fuel tank on it because you need 24 litres to do 2 laps before your fuel stops. So, but things like exhaust and can easily break off and stuff. We have lower footrests on it, and gearing slightly different. But it was a good bike. Again, I'm repeating myself. It never missed a beat. And we finished in the top 10. I finished 9th, and I was happy.
Talking of BSB bikes, then this is Tom Neve's bike, isn't it? This is a full-on super bike.
This is another level, isn't it? To the naked eye, they look the same as that, but this is, like I say, a different fuel tank, different swing arm, different shock, different wheels, lighter wheels, wider wheels, different exhaust, different gearbox, different clutch. Goes on and on. This will have 230 horsepower, I would imagine, and the stocker will have 200-ish, 205. So quite a bit more power as well. And as soon as you give them power, they become an animal to ride. And you can explain better than I can about being a British Superbike champion. You've won one or two, so you know what it's like.
Well, I noticed actually it's got these mock light things on it. Did you see the stickers?
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'd realise if I even nick this one instead of
Well,
one
I
of them?
won't say out, so let's just
should we go and take it for a ride up the road? We've got a slick and an intermediate front. We'd be well all right, wouldn't we?
Police won't catch you, don't worry.
This thing, you feel like you're sat in it, not on it. The new blade feels like you're sat right on top of it. Oh, she's grunty. So different, but so nice. Straight away, it just feels Honda. Not got to forget, you got to use the clutch on the upshifts and the clutch on the downshifts. No auto blippers on this. 30-year-old technology in it, but to be fair, you would be like a dog with two dicks in 30 years ago on one of these. Yeah, analog dashboard, 43,000 miles it's done. Feels absolutely mint. I like this though, it's got lower pegs on it, so it actually feels a little bit more comfortable. Feels a lot bigger. Maybe not handlebar to seat position, but definitely footrests are lower. It feels nice and comfy. Feels like it would just gobble the miles up on a good run out somewhere. Just open the taps up a bit. Lovely. Yeah, nice and smooth. I'll be shaky, just working out how fast the 2022 blade is. He'll be smiling his head off in there. Once a racer, always a racer. I can see his grin through his black visor. First thing I noticed about this thing is she's a lot softer. Definitely feels like it soaks up the box. Maybe a little bit better, to be honest, but maybe a bit too soft if you're racing it, but absolutely turns lovely. It really does steer in nice. Just lean over a little bit and she's in. Steers really nice there. When I drive down here, normally in my van I'm in motorhome, so a little bit steadier pace, so give two motorbike races, two racing motorbikes. Fortunately, you've got no chance.
Right, this has got to be your room then, mate, because it says there, TT Workshop.
This is where all the magic happens, yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, the amount of hours that go into this.
Do you even know what this is? What's that?
Yeah, that's for measuring ride height, I think, as well, yeah.
So this is where it all starts then?
Yeah, right, it's a chassis, isn't it?
Should we fire a few bits into it? We'll chuck an exhaust on. Oh, need an engine, don't we?
So the frame itself is a standard frame, standard.
Do you modify them?
No, I don't think we do. They can change the offset on the front and the head angle on the front and some different cups and bearings and things, but the chassis itself starts off life as a road bike, modified swing arm, and there's not right lot else to look at, but that's basically the skeleton of a 2022 Superbike Fireblade.
So if we bolt this bit in, how long do you reckon it'd take me and you to build one?
I don't think we could. I don't think we're
clever enough.
A while. No, I think we'd figure it out.
We know where it all goes. Just don't know how to put it together.
We've wrecked a few, broke a few, ridden
exactly.
a few, but I think that's a challenge. So which bike's this then, mate?
This is Takumi's BSP bike.
That's been prepped ready for Brands Hatch.
It always blows me away with some of the Japanese riders anyway, how in Japan they're so fast, like ridiculously fast. Like if you or I went to try and race with them in Suzuka or whatever, probably wouldn't see which way they went. And then they come over here and show flashes of brilliance and then flashes of like, come on, what are you doing?
I have to try and put myself in their position, you know. Different lingo in it, different language, different cultures, different weather. It must be tough for them. And like I say, it's I think Takumi's like he's a bit of a god in Japan, isn't he? I think he's won Suzuka before, and I think Rio looks up to him. So I think that Japanese culture, that's the way they are. And I don't think they live together as well.
They're being led by this man.
Who's
talking of culture?
Yeah, who's a Northern Irish boy who's a different gravy again. Yeah. But yeah, I think that Glenn Irwin's BSB bodywork, That's Glenn Irwin's winning Northwest 200 bodywork. He was number 1 there. Yeah. They wanted me to be number 1, but Glenn got the hump and he wanted to go number 1 because he's the daddy around there. So
he was the daddy.
He was, yeah. To be fair, he was stunning. He did a fantastic performance, and I just like the little touches. The number 1, and if you look in the corner at the top, it's got the map of the circuit, the Northwest 200. So little touches like that, and Glenn's number there, the Shamrock, and his little signature on there. So it's just little cool little things like that. And
right. So, as I said earlier on, I'm curious to see who's going to get the bigger shock. To be fair, John's taken a 30-year step back in time, and I've taken a 30-year leap into the future. Let's see what he thinks of that bike and what I think of this one. God, I thought that the gearbox was nice and crisp on that 92 bike. Remember me saying about how smooth it felt and how just run in. It just felt really, really nice. This is exactly the same, but electrically even better. I know that sounds like a really strange thing to say, but you know, the blipper system just makes that that nice positive feeling that the 92 bike had, just makes it that little bit better still, you know. I'm really looking forward to the first time John winds the wick up on the 92 bike and I get to do the same on this one. Already feel far more purposeful, you know, like loads more weight on my wrists. You know, this bike feels like it's basically fulfilling its objective, which is, as I said before, to you know, to try and win races. So let's have a it's quite funny because when we got to Cadwell Park earlier on, John said to me, oh, I didn't get this above 6,000 or 7,000 RPM, and there was a couple of times on the 92 bike where, you know, if you talk about throttle percentage, I probably went to about 80 or 90% in like 3rd or 4th gear, kind of winding the thing on, trying to keep up with him. Whoa, baby. She's a weapon. Thumbs up from John. Interestingly enough, this CBR 1000 will actually rev to 15,150 RPM. But saying that, peak torque on this bike actually comes at 12,500 RPM. So when John said that you've actually got to work the thing to, you know, to get it going, you really feel that. So under sort of 6,000, 7,000 RPM, there doesn't feel like there's too much going on. You know, you wind the throttle on, and it doesn't even necessarily feel relative to, you know, to what's happening with the engine. But once it gets over that and that exhaust valve opens, it's like all hell breaks loose, and yeah, she's ready for action. Interesting looking at John and his riding position, on that older bike, looking so low down and then squished. Flippin' hell. Whee. There goes the camera. Johnny's head's gonna roll off. I better turn around and pick up Johnny's camera. The brand new camera has just literally got high-sided off the back of the bike. That is a little bit of a disaster. Where did it go? 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 Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. That is looking rather dead.
Dead? Yes, very, very dead. A 2-hour-old Insta360 camera obliterated on the tarmac, trying to hang on for grim death behind the Isle of Man legend that is McGuinness. But sometimes your equipment has to suffer for your art.
Well, do you know what? This is supposed to be like a bit of a conclusion of you know, how I feel about both the bikes, how John feels about both of the bikes. But to be completely honest with you, I'm absolutely made up to have just been out riding with my mate. We just had a couple of blasts up to Cadwell Park. I don't even care about what the bikes were like, to be honest. That was great fun, wasn't it?
Word for word, you just said what I was just about to say. That I had that in the back of my head. That was great to see Shane Byrne in my mirror on a bike. I never thought, I mean, I've never been in front of you when I've raced you. You've always been way ahead of me, but like I say, a couple of cheeky runs up to Cadwell and some real nice A roads and swooping corners and hairpins and down. And where do you start? You know,
Well, let's start with this one, right? I don't know about you, but having ridden the 2022 version, the one thing that strikes me with this is how honest it is, how real it feels. You know that when you give the bike 70% throttle, you're getting 70% of its power. It might only be 115 horsepower or whatever, but it's just real, isn't it? It's like a really, it's done 40-odd thousand miles, but it feels brand new, and it's just dead linear and dead nice and smooth to ride.
Exactly my thoughts, exactly the same. I'm thinking, she's an old girl, she's done 43,000 miles, she's done a bit of leg. And you got on it and it was so smooth, it was so well balanced with the you still got carburetors on it, and you know, choke cable, got to put the fuel on, and off I went. Like I said, the connection one-to-one onto the bypass, up over the top, and it made me smile straight away. I just started grinning. I've never ridden one before. I've ridden the later blades.
Yeah. It's almost like, whilst they're exactly the same bike, they're two completely different animals nowadays, aren't they? That 30 years worth of development has turned that into just a spaceship, isn't it? It's so fast.
It is. The 30 years development's come a long way in the engine. The chassis feels sort of similar in a lot of ways. It feels a little bit heavy. That thing needs to be ridden a little bit harder. This thing just works in a bigger window. You know, you can be going along at 30, 40, 50, 60, and it actually feels nice. But actually, then you get going a little bit more on it, and it's a little bit more racy, and it feels like it's underneath you. But I mean, that's the way forward.
100%.
With racing, I mean, you can ride like a pussycat. You can, like you said, you can go to the shop for an ice cream on that. Even with a wife on the back, and it does everything it says, and the throttle goes both ways. But it's there for you. When it comes in, it's off the chart how much power it's got. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been out on a road bike with anybody. I don't really ride on roads much, and that was just fun. To see you in the mirror, I was laughing my head off. We went to Cadwell, and I got there and saw one of my old teammates off one of my 250 days, and he's as old as me. He's come back out of retirement. We just love riding bikes, don't we? And you know, we've just got to ride, like I say, the newest technology and what do you say, oldest new generation of blades. So ticked another box for me, that. I'm really, really pleased.
Well, if there's any consolation, this is the first time I've had a leather suit on in 4 years since my accident. I got to go and ride with one of my mates who's won God knows how many TTs on the road. John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed filming it. Started right here about 8 hours ago on a 1992 bog stock original Fireblade, one of the first ever ones, and it's ended now with this 2022 30th anniversary edition. Two bikes exactly the same but completely different. I've really enjoyed filming it. I got to spend some time here at Honda Racing. They looked after us, they've been absolutely fantastic, and I got to go for a ride 2 or 3 times on the road with one of my good friends, John McGuinness. I think that made for an absolutely amazing episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed filming it. Why not give us a like or subscribe if you did? Tell your friends about it so they can subscribe too. Or you could become a Patreon member and get early access to some of the videos that we'll be doing. If you don't do that, then who knows? Why don't you just go on the website and buy some merchandise, Late Break Show merchandise. That'll be cool. This has been Burnout. I'm Shakey Byrne, and we're proudly supported by EBC Brakes.